Welcome to Creature Guide Live. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ethan. We're going to be getting to some prehistoric to current animal news from around the world, and as well take a look at some interesting animal videos. And to start this show off, happy International Eastern Gray Kangaroo Day. And for those of you that don't know, this animal was described by George Shaw back in 1790, a British botanist and zoologist. These animals only reach somewhere around 150 pounds and or pushing a little over 70 kilograms. Where's my mouse? Okay. So you have somewhere between 7 to 10 million eastern gray kangaroos inhabiting different parts of eastern Australia, so areas of Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales. And as well, these animals do feed mostly on different species of grasses in the region that they inhabit. So, not so much into different species of shrubs or bushes like the wallabies that they coexist with. And by the way, there is a World Kangaroo Day on October 24th, but it's not about any specific species of kangaroo. And when you're referring to kangaroos, you're usually referring to the family of marsupials referred to as the Macropodidae lineage, which consists of modern day species, not even including prehistoric species, of over 60 different species of macropod, or you could even say kangaroo. But the true kangaroos are only a small portion of it. These animals, let's see, what is it? Do walk on their ankles just like bears and people do. Something like a bird, though, is only, or a dinosaur is only going to walk on its toes. As well, happy international, well, not this specific individual, not Baryonyx, but a close relative. This is Baryonyx from England around 135 million years ago. But this day, and by the way, this animal reached somewhere around 30 feet in length. They're pushing 9 meters and probably weighed around 3.5 tons. It was one of the top predators of the ecosystems of England that it inhabited of its time during the early Cretaceous. It is International Suchomimus tenerensis Day. This animal was discovered by paleontologist Paul Sereno back in 1998. I think many people think that some a species like Suchomimus has been known for a much longer period of time, and that tends to be confused with Baryonyx itself, which was found much earlier. Suchomimus existed over in the country of Niger, which is just north of countries in Africa, such as Nigeria and the Central African Republic. But this animal existed in the region where it was much more lush and filled with different types of conifer forests, floodplains around 110 million years ago during the late early Cretaceous period, and mostly fed on different species of fish, probably occasionally even going after smaller crocodilomorphs in the region, and maybe even smaller iguanodontid herbivores. Might even have preyed on younger sauropods as well. This animal was around 35 feet in length, or pushing 11 meters, and probably weighed somewhere around 4.5 tons. So it was one of the larger species of Spinosaur to exist at this point. And it did have a slightly more elongated back vertebrae and even to the tail compared to animals like Baryonyx, for instance, which barely had an elongated back vertebrae.
I'm sorry, but that dinosaur looks like it's a sumo wrestler.
The Spinosaurs did have some of the more muscular sort of arms compared to other species of theropod dinosaurs, especially during the Cretaceous. You could even say during the compared to late Jurassic animals, but um, I wouldn't necessarily say that they were good wrestlers with fish, but not necessarily their own kind.
Talking about this guy.
Oh, no, no, no. I mean, referring to Suchomimus, yes, this individual looks like he has very wide forearms. So I would say though it looks like he's missing a shoulder. I mean, they are a bit stubby. I do like this reconstruction overall, but it is quite a thick tail for a Suchomimus. It is very possible you could have had Suchomimus individuals with this thick of a tail, but this is more of a characteristic that you see on species of Spinosaur with much more elongated back vertebrae, such as Sigillomosaurus, different Spinosaurus species, and there's a couple of others. Anyway, let's head on to the first article. So, let's see. Archaeopter tementarum, new dinosaur discovered in Montana. So, Canadian paleontologists have described a new genus and species of raptor dinosaur that lived in western North America about 66 million years ago, at the same time as the giant Tyrannosaurus rex and the herbivorous Triceratops. So, this is a bit more of an older article, and we might have done a video on, but we're going back over it for everyone to hear. This is actually a pretty exciting discovery when it occurred, considering this is another species of dromaeosaur that did coexist with T Rex. This is also by,
If we did
um,
do a video on this, it wasn't from Sci News,
I think it
unless they
was.
changed the picture.
No, this is also done by a artist that's Uh, I don't remember a specific one, but he's done several books, especially came out during the early 2010s. With this was when the interpretation of T Rex having feathers was becoming it. It was a bit bigger back then. Okay, so the new dinosaur named Archaeopter temeratyrum was a relatively large carnivorous two-legged raptor. Creature measured about 3 meters in length and weighed in about 40 kilograms, so pushing around 10 feet and probably weighed somewhere around 90 pounds. It had a long snouted skull, dagger like rigid teeth, and was likely covered in feathers. I do wonder if for Archaeopter specifically, we have any specific evidence showing that it did have feathers. There are a wide variety of different species of Dromaeosaur that we have found, especially the larger species, but we don't have any evidence for them specifically having feathers. But due to how closely related that they are to other species of smaller Dromaeosaur, it certainly is plausible that they did have feathers. So Archaeopter temeratyrum is a close cousin of the Velociraptor. Now, Velociraptor did exist much earlier in time, around 71 million years ago, over in Mongolia, but it is closely related to Archaeopter, and the youngest known member of the raptor family, known as Dromaeosaurids. The jawbone fossils of the raptor were collected from the Hell Creek Formation, Montana. While in the Hell Creek Formation, we also find Tyrannosaurus rex specimens, Triceratops, the Hadrosaur edmontosaurus. Don't find any sauropods or long necked dinosaurs in the region, but it's certainly possible further south that they might have coexisted with each other. It's a very good drawing. So, looking at the teeth of Archaeopter temeratyrum, along with a larger sample of teeth from small meat eating dinosaurs, paleontologists say the evidence suggests a decline in raptor diversity in North America just before the end of the Cretaceous. Archaeopter gives us a more complete picture of the ecosystem in North America just before the great extinction that marked the end of the age of dinosaurs, says Dr. David Evans from both the University of Toronto and the Royal Ontario Museum, the lead author of the paper describing Archaeopter temeratyrum in the journal Naturwissenschaften. The close evolutionary relationship of Archaeopter to a small group of late occurring Asian species that includes Velociraptor suggests migration from Asia continued to shape North American dinosaur communities right up until the end of the Cretaceous period. I do wonder, because I'll have to look back at it, if Archaeopter is specifically a member of the Velociraptorni lineage of Dromaeosaurus, which consisted of the two Velociraptor species. That's a very distinct skull structure, though, from Velociraptor. Velociraptor's upper jaw wasn't too different from the bottom jaw and overall structure. I mean, not including the eye socket. Um, let's see. So, holotype maxilla and associated dentary of Archaeopter temeratyrum. That's pretty good to find, despite missing part of the skull for this dromaeosaur. So the genus name of Archaeopter temeratyrum means a Karen plunderer, a clever derivation from a Karen, the name of the river of pain in the mythical underworld of ancient Greece, thereby acknowledging the location of the fossils. The species name temeratyrum honors James and Louis Temerty for their outstanding service and contributions to the Royal Ontario Museum. Okay, well, this definitely is a great addition to the Hell Creek ecosystem back in the late Cretaceous. So let's head to the first video. Whoa. So aggregation of manatees swim right at some people in the water at a Florida beach. Huh. I didn't realize they did this off the coast of certain beaches in Florida. Um, Really, I'm just familiar with them off of certain wetlands. I mean, large different tributaries over in mainland Florida.
It's funny, these people are freaking out that manatees are coming towards them.
Are they freaking out or are
They're
they
gonna start moving.
are they
No, they're moving.
studying them?
No, look, they're moving away. See?
Oh, okay.
What are they? The most gentle things in the water?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you're just
And these
they're
people are just standing there watching them. They're like, "What's wrong with you people?"
I wonder how long they stay out here for considering there isn't really any food.
Oh, they just went for a swim. Look, he's not even worried about them.
It is interesting how they're almost like reptiles considering they constantly need warm water temperatures. And they'll still die from the just somewhat cooler temperatures in water. That's why they always migrate to southern Florida during the winter. So, from IFLscience.com, world's deepest land animal lives 1.9 kilometers underground in one of Earth's deepest caves. No light, no problem. Okay, what do we have here? Plutomerus ortobelgiensis lives at 1,980 meters or 6,500 feet below the entrance of the Krubera Veronha cave system. Wow.
Hold on, let me scroll back up and switched it so people could see him. Okay.
In a cave nearly 2,000 meters or 6,561 feet below Earth's surface, scientists discovered an ecosystem quietly thriving in the absence of light. Among the trove of troglobites was a character known as Plutomerus ortobelgiensis, which holds the title for being the deepest land animal ever found on Earth. Now, I've not heard of an animal existing this far down inside of a cave. So, the deep dwelling life form was discovered in the summer of 2010 by the Ibero Russian Cave X Team expedition within the Krubera Voronha cave system in the Western Caucasus, one of the deepest known caves on Earth. Their findings were published in the journal Terrestrial Arthropod Reviews in 2012. It was found at 1,980 meters or 2,165 yards below the surface, making it the deepest land arthropod ever found. Prior to this, the record was held by a species of worm discovered at a depth of about 1,300 meters, 4,265 feet, at a gold mine in South Africa. The creature is a springtail, an arthropod that looks a lot like an insect, but actually belongs to a different branch of the tree of life. It isn't much of a looker. It's a grayish, eyeless creature with 6 legs adapted to life in perpetual darkness, feeding on fungi and decaying organic matter. Um, it makes a bit more sense, but that you have anything growing down here is quite remarkable as well. The fact that there also is decaying organic matter is quite shocking. The top of its head is kitted out with an extremely long pair of antennas, which it uses to detect chemical cues and navigate the lightless environment. In response to these conditions, none of these animals have eyes and lack pigmentation. Dr. Enrique Becerro is zoologist and professor at the University of Navarra in Spain and one of the authors on the study, told the media in 2012. In addition, one of the species has developed a chemoreceptor, a kind of chemical parabolic antenna which permits it to move in such a complicated environment. They feed on the fungi that grow on it, contributing to its decomposition and participating in the network of stable communities of arthropods exist in the caves. Is that it? Oh, most creatures that live in deep caverns lose their pigmentation entirely. After all, who needs color when you live in total darkness surrounded by eyeless organisms? Interestingly, while the springtail is extremely pale, it is not completely devoid of pigment. That subtle trace of color has led researchers to speculate that the species may have colonized these extreme depths relatively recently in evolutionary terms. Well, I'm not really surprised that this animal has color, considering there's a variety of different deep sea creatures that have quite um, an astonishing amount of color. So, now what is interesting is that since they're all blind and the fact that they have color anyway, so the question is, why do they have the color? But I'm just not surprised that they do.
Akita Bear says Happy Manatee Day.
Okay. Well, I guess we can add that too. I don't know when the other International Humanity Day is, but I guess we could stick it in to Eastern Great Kangaroo and Suchomimus terranensis Day. So, let's head over to the next video. Okay, so what's going on here?
I lived, bitch. I swear he was dead.
Like he was roadkill and you just picked him up and he was sleeping? Wow.
I think it's possible the thing just jumped in his bed.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I'm probably rested.
Yeah, it was just a joke.
Interesting. Well,
Oh,
sometime in the fall. Definitely a younger buck.
he doesn't look worried though. Is it someone's pet?
I mean, it's always possible. Okay. Also a bit of an earlier article, but we have not gone over this. Eurornithohippus wolda gabrieli, new fossil species of horse found in Ethiopia. So, an international team of paleontologists have described a news or have discovered fossils of a new horse species that was about the size of a small zebra and roamed eastern Africa during the Middle Pliocene around 4.4 million years ago. Oh, okay. So, yeah, this individual, I don't know, Middle Pliocene, you could probably still easily weigh around what 100, 120 pounds, or pushing some around 45 to 55 kilograms, which would is small in zebra terms. Okay, so let's see what else. Seems to still have three toes, which at this point in time you still had several toed horses. Wait a second. This painting shows three representatives of Hypohippus, an extinct genus of three-toed horse that lived in North America during the Middle Miocene, 17 to 11 million years ago. Yeah, that makes more sense. You would have had different species of three-toed horse still occurring in the Miocene, but by the Pliocene, I believe they would have lost that third toe at least. The horse fills a gap in the evolutionary history of horses, but is also important for documenting how old a fossil locality is and in reconstructing habitats of human forebears of the time. This horse is one piece of a very complex puzzle that has many, many pieces, said Professor Scott Simpson of Case Western Reserve University, who's a co author of the paper published in the journal Vertebrate Paleontology. The team unearthed teeth and bones of Urognathothippus woldo gabrieli in 2001 in the Gona area of the Afar region. This fossil horse was among the diverse array of animals that lived in the same areas as the ancient human ancestor Ardipithecus remitis. I am not familiar with this ancient hominid. The fossil search team spreads out to survey for fossils in the now arid badlands of the Ethiopian desert. Among the many fossils we found are the two ends of the foreleg bone, the cannon, brilliant white and well preserved in the red tinted earth. A year later, they returned and found part of the connecting shaft, which was split lengthwise but provided the crucial full length of the bone. The long, slender bone indicates this ancient species was an adept runner, similar to modern zebras, and analyses of their teeth indicated that they relied heavily on eating grasses in the grassy woodland environment.
Floppy Rabbit on Kick said 3 toes on a horse. How do you shoe it?
You give them one of those. what foot imitate shoes.
Oh, those
It's
those
just
weird things that look like someone's foot.
yeah, and you just give it three toes. Um, so let's see, or just an overall wider shoe. You don't want it where it's smushing the foot like what happens to a lot of human feet. Definitely don't give it a wooden shoe like certain places. Okay, so this is a decently well preserved bottom jaw of this Pliocene horse. So Urignathohippus woldegabrieli had longer legs than ancestral horses that lived and fed in forests about 6 to 10 million years ago. So this is around the time when horses started evolving much longer legs compared to their body size. Because when it came to much earlier relatives or ancestors of modern day horses, you're heading to the Oligocene epoch, so over 30 million years ago, the Eocene, 45 million years ago, and into the Paleocene epoch. Um, they had much shorter legs compared to their body size. And you also had a point where they had four toes.
Wait, is that like the snow leopard? Or
Um,
not the snow leopard. Yeah, it is the snow
yeah, more
leopard.
leopard.
Is that
Snow
it?
leopard.
Or big, thick, but little legs, or at least their legs look little when they're on camera.
Well, it could be the snow leopard, but um, hmm, I
Is it
don't know because the snow leopard also has much just overall robust legs compared to its body size, so they like somewhat match up, like the stockiness and the length with the animal. But I'm trying to think if there's another carnivore, but also maybe an herbivore I could compare it with. It's almost like looking at a capybara or the smaller species of capybara to an extent. But like even like smaller, earlier horses also had much stockier legs compared to today's horses. Though I'd say maybe zebras also have much stockier legs compared to horses or onagers, basically close relatives of donkeys. So let's see. The change helped the more recent horses cover long distances as they grazed and flee lions, saber-toothed cats, and hunting hyenas that would run down their prey. I don't believe lions necessarily had evolved yet. You definitely had their ancestors occurring at this point, but and I'm even referring to prehistoric lions, not today's Panthera leo. Saber-toothed cats had evolved, and even for short bursts, it's going to help the horse needing the speed and stamina that it has. But yeah, hyenas are going to be a bit more of a challenge. The other fossils the scientists found included teeth, which are taller than their ancestors and with crowns worn flatter, more signs the horses adapted to a grazing life. This is definitely true, considering earlier species of horses compared to today's, for the most part, were mostly leaf eaters, considering earlier in the horses, or in the beginning of the horse's evolution, true grass really hadn't evolved yet, or species of grasses related to today's species of grasses. So you would have had almost like a mastodon, so close relative, the mammoth, sort of tooth structure, which is really like very rigid and sort of long when it comes to the structure of the molars. So they're only going to be feeding on different types of leafy material, and they're not suited. It couldn't chew grass. So, um, that's why all of a sudden, as the open plains started to dominate like different North American, Eurasian, African landscapes, the horses needed to evolve um, a much flatter sort of tooth structure,
Why
which
did
you
they
would.
get so much larger too?
Oh, well, yeah, that's another thing. You had it where these, I believe it's because these forests were also quite dense, though you did have certain large mammals roaming the areas anyway. But it seems that those other larger mammals within those early, like let's say Paleocene or Eocene epoch ecosystems, so between like 35 to 66 million years ago, many of them had like a semi-aquatic lifestyle. So they were going to be feeding on different species of aquatic plant material that would make up for or help supply them with the nutrition that they needed to obtain the large sizes that they had. Whereas the other smaller animals tend to inhabit the more dense forest regions, and they could survive and thrive off of feeding on different leafy material, which in many cases isn't going to necessarily have as much nutrition. Um, but anyway, is there anything else? Analyses of the isotopic composition of the enamel confirmed that Eronithohippus waldegabrieli subsisted on grass. So the species name of Eronithohippus waldegabrieli honors Dr. Gide Waldegabriel, a geologist at Los Alamos National Laboratory. Okay, well, there's definitely a lot going on here with the evolution of the horse during the Pliocene. So let's head on to the next video. What's going on here? Wait a second. I think this is from an older documentary. I'm guessing it's a wolf pack over in Yellowstone. Not sure if it's like the Grand Junction pack, the Wapiti pack. There's a few different packs in Yellowstone. There's one just peeking over the hill.
Why do you have your camera on me?
A couple of bison over on the tree line.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they just seem to be playing at the moment.
Crashed into the snow.
It's a really relaxing time for the wolves during winter.
Look into my eyes.
Yeah, those bison are having a pretty tough time, but they're over in their male bachelor herds.
Aw. I'm assuming it's howling.
Yeah, I think it's just communicating with other pack members.
Get out of my way. But we want to eat you.
Yeah, it's literally what that wolf looked like.
And
I wonder if these are also I don't think these are repetitive shots. It's just that would be annoying in many like early 2000s or 2010s documentaries where they would use the same shot over and over. But I've caught it like even today where they might show a distinct scene in one documentary and then shove it in a couple of others. I think all of these are wolves over in Yellowstone. For in a few shots, I was wondering if they were captive. Oh, I think that was that instance where this couple of wolves, it was this I think his parents to this pack, were mating and they ended up getting stuck for a little bit. And
I mean, stuck in the snow?
no. I mean, like they got stuck in while they were mating, and they couldn't disconnect for a little bit. So yeah, that sometimes happens to different animals. Okay, well, from the conversation.com. Leopards adapted to South Africa's Cape so successfully that they're genetically unique. Well, let's take a look at this. I haven't looked into the different genetic outlines of South African leopards. Actually, I'd say leopard populations in general over in Africa. Except, okay, I'll say that Western African leopards are definitely distinct from Central African and East African. So, animals of the same species don't always look the same. From birds with different beak shapes to mammals that vary in size or color, populations living in different places can often look very different. What's much harder to pin down is why these differences arise. Are they shaped by local environments or driven by natural or sexual selection? Or are they simply the result of the random loss of gene variants as populations become isolated and slowly diverge over time? I think it's a mix. I'm part of a team of leopard conservationists and researchers who set out to answer some of these questions when we investigated a remarkable population of fewer than 1,000 leopards in South Africa's Cape Floristic region. Yeah, I remember that there was a certain region of Africa, South Africa specifically, that had a small population of leopards. I think in total there's somewhere between like 90,000 and 120,000 leopards in all of Africa. So it's, I believe, the most populous big cat in, like, of the larger species of wild cat in Africa. An area that covers the country's western Cape and parts of the eastern Cape and northern Cape. These leopards are much smaller than leopards elsewhere on the continent. That is interesting considering it tends to be like different populations of big cats over in western sub-Saharan Africa. So areas of Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Nigeria, that tend to have smaller animals to an extent. So let's see. For decades, so in some cases, only half the body mass yeah, is small. For decades, researchers and conservationists have debated whether the leopards of this region are truly a separate population in terms of their genes, and if so, what might be driving that difference. So, male leopard photographed by a leopard camera trap. The Cape Leopard Trust. Well, he definitely seems. His fur seems okay, but I think he's a bit thin. Or maybe they're just naturally lean in this way. Hmm. Let's see what's going on. Uh, can we go back? Oh, so previous genetic studies offered only limited answers. Most relied on a small number of genetic markers, specific spots in the DNA where mutations tend to happen more. This is useful in finding out large scale patterns, but misses the finer details needed to understand how populations evolve. To fill this gap in the research, we turn to whole genome data. This means that instead of looking for small regions of the DNA where we expect variation, we analyze the full sequence of paired DNA bases that make up the leopard's genome. 2.57 billion base pairs, or roughly 19,000 genes in total. Together with local leopard experts and evolutionary biologists, we collected muscle or skin tissue of the leopards and compared them with genomes of leopards from other parts of Africa. We found that leopards of the Cape are genetically different from other African leopards. This is because they've been isolated from other leopards for a long time and have adapted to one region. This has important implications for conservation. Leopards are, um, okay, it's subspecies. Okay, just let's get to bottom of this. The leopards of the Cape Floristic region, a biodiverse area rich in plants found nowhere else in the world, are an exception to the pattern. They're relatively small in mass, but until now, no one knew the reason for their distinctive appearance. So here's a male leopard in Cedarburg, Western Cape, South Africa. So, our research found that the leopards of the Cape are not just smaller than other African leopards, they've also formed their own genetic group.
Well, that explains what you were saying a minute ago,
About what?
how small the leopard was.
Oh, yeah, the half the size. Clearly separated from leopards elsewhere in southern and eastern Africa. Yeah, it's definitely showing the very semi arid region within South Africa. I think many people, when they think of South Africa, they might think of like a part of the Kalahari Desert, maybe also like the different bush areas of Kruger National Park. But there's a wide variety of different types of ecosystems over in South Africa, and it's not as lush as many areas of Eastern Africa. Um, it definitely has, like, especially in the different areas of Central and Southern regions. I think close to Cape Town, there's very rocky and dry areas. So let's see. Um, a similar pattern emerged for leopards from Ghana and West Africa. In both cases, there was little evidence of recent genetic mixing with neighboring populations. Leopards occur and move all along the length of the Cape Fold Belt mountain chain, which serves as a refuge for the cats. Beyond the northern and eastern edge of this mountain chain, it appears that leopard movement stops, the apparent barriers being very dry semi desert in the north and high human activity in much of the Eastern Cape. Hmm. So there's like, not including people, there is a massive ecological system that's blocking the leopards from moving or coming to contact with each other and exchanging genes. So they've made their own distinct type of leopard. So, looking back in time helped explain why this population is genetically unique. Our analysis suggests that these leopards began diverging from populations further east around 20,000 to 24,000 years ago. Whoa, during the last glacial maximum. That is interesting. So, this isn't new. I was thinking maybe in the last couple thousand years, maybe a few hundred.
What's a glacial maximum?
Oh, so This is this is when the glaciers during different parts of the ice age were encroaching on much more southern areas of different parts of North America, Europe, Asia, and you can even include the Antarctic region.
I didn't know it. I was actually asking.
And different areas of southern South America, New Zealand, Australia too, southern Australia, like the Australian Alps. So let's see. We estimated this by analyzing whole genome DNA to reconstruct when populations split and how much they exchanged genes in the past. We effectively read their shared evolutionary history written in the genome. During this time, southern Africa became cooler and drier, with fewer grasslands and less food, making it harder for animals to move and survive and causing populations to become separated. Yeah, the last glacial maximum, especially, which was one of the worst times, or at least when it came to cold during the Ice Age or Pleistocene epoch, you had it where different species of large mammals, specifically designed to thrive in not exactly these types of conditions, but in the ecosystems that were quite um, spread out during this time in history, just die off. So it was very harsh. So let's see. Okay. So because they'd been ice, I'm just skipping the hunting part. That's a bit that's a bit abrupt. We're talking about the ice age and its massive effects on animals, and all of a sudden brings up hunting for the 1900s. Because they had been isolated from other leopards and hunted, we expected our research to show that the leopards of the Cape were genetically depleted when small populations inbreed and lose genetic diversity. Low genetic diversity makes it harder for populations to adapt to new threats like, okay, I'd say disease, especially, is a big one. However, we found they have only slightly lower genetic diversity than other African populations. A really positive finding. Wow, that's interesting. They must have had quite a bit of genetic variety or a certain amount to begin with because it is still stating they have lower genetic diversity. So that still had to somewhat impact on their population, a negative impact. So I'm really skeptical about that. We also wanted to find out why the leopards of the Cape are smaller in size. We found about 90 genes that were more common in these leopards linked to body size, muscles, bones, and energy use. These differences made sense given that the environment they live in has much smaller, more sparsely distributed prey than other leopard habitats. Leopards in the Cape feed mostly on species like rock hyrax. Oh, yeah, these little guys. They're very small relatives of elephants. So Bracavia capensis, the clip springer, Autrio tragus, and Cape Grisbach.
When you say smaller, how small?
Um, like 4 pounds
Oh,
or a
so
couple
they're
of
tiny little things.
yeah, a couple of kilograms. Are herbivores, and the clip springer is a small antelope in the area, as well as the Cape Grisbach. And they're very mobile on rocks. And we're also talking about antelope that don't weigh much more than some cases, 40, no, I don't know. 40 pounds seems like a bit of a large one. Not much more than 15 kilograms, 30, 40 pounds. Together, these genomic signals suggest that these leopards are small because they've adapted that way and not only because of isolation or genetic drift. Um, okay, so it is including the others, but it's not hitting me because I'm thinking, how is a leopard, how's, how is like a 150-pound or 140-pound animal or an individual weighing 70 kilograms able to sustain itself on these small herbivores? And then it hits me that these are half the size of their larger relatives, but they might even be smaller because of the prey that they're feeding on. So let's see. Populations. Okay, let's see. Leopards in the Cape Floristic region occupy a landscape unlike any other in southern Africa, shaped by low prey availability, unique vegetation, and rapidly expanding human populations. Large fenced reserves are rare, and leopards frequently move through agricultural and urban edge landscapes where conflict with people is common. To conserve these leopards, their habitats need to be connected so that they can move around unrestricted and safe from persecution. Poaching and road mortalities are two further threats that need to be addressed to ensure the persistence of leopards in the landscape. So, working in partnership with landowners and communities is essential to protect leopards. Okay, well, this was definitely interesting. I would like to get a look into how specifically small these leopards are, and also review the prey items in the region. Something
Are they
seems off.
called the Cape leopard?
Um, yes, but this specific, I would think, subspecies at least probably has its own distinct um Latin name specifically.
Oh, that wasn't what I was asking. 66 to 88 pounds, and the females are 44 to 53.
Um, oh, well, yeah, that definitely makes sense. Wow, that is tiny. Sheesh. Uh, they're like the size of clouded leopards in some cases. At least when it comes to the females. Males are bigger. Because clouded leopards don't usually reach much more than 50 pounds or pushing a little over 20 kilograms.
Wait, could it have been the clouded leopard I was talking about earlier? Where I said
Uh,
it has the really short legs and it's really thick?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't call clouded leopards thick. Snow leopards tend to have a thicker appearance to them, and Amur leopards are even thicker. Also, because they're just overall puffy, because of their
Or
or poofy because of their fur. But they also, I think, have a bit more fat on them as opposed to other large or big cat species. Okay, this individual, which supposedly might not be the same tigers we saw before. No, that's him.
are you sure?
Yeah,
Because
he made those same exact head gestures. Now, I was wondering if before if it was a fake video, but this seems to be authentic, like coming from years back. How though he didn't have the ability to go underwater because tigers can swim and also will hunt somewhat underwater too.
he
Maybe
just
not
looked
to the extent of a jaguar, but
he just looked so confused.
yeah, that was okay. So from Sci News. Niosodon mufumukasi, fossil of new mammal-like reptile found in Mozambique. So, I think we did do a video on this way back, but we're going to go back over it. Bit of an older article.
Yeah, we did.
Paleontologists have discovered a new genus and species of Dicynodont that lived in what is now modern Mozambique during the late Permian period, about 256 million years ago. So this is definitely during the last 4 million years of the Permian, and there are a wide variety of proto-mammals in the on the supercontinent Pangea. So the prehistoric animal has been named Nyasodon mufumukasi, which means the queen of Lake Nyasa in local languages Chayo and Nyanha. The name is a tribute to the Yao Matriarchal Society, to the women of Mozambique, and to the beauty of Lake Nyasa. Explained Dr. Fabian Wild of Helmholtz Centrum Zeitschrift with colleagues. Well, that was a change in regions. Where are you from? Okay. Just went from proto mammals to weird people. So, Nyasodon mufumacase is a dicynodont, an herbivorous mammal like reptile synapsida. Its skull and much of the skeleton were unearthed during fieldwork in the remote province of Nyasa, Mozambique in 2009. By using microcomputed tomography, Dr. Wild and his co authors digitally reconstructed the bones of the ancient creature and created a virtual model of its brain. The model reveals new information on the brain anatomy of early synapsids, which is important for understanding the evolution of many features of the mammalian brain. This is a pretty intact preservation of the skeleton of Nyasodon. So, this is an early relative of animals like Placerius during the later Triassic, but Placerius wouldn't arrive for another 30 million years. So, 36 probably. This is quite astounding. And it's also over Mozambique, whereas Placerius is over in Arizona. There were different species of large African dicynodont existing during the middle and even late Triassic, but they would evolve much longer tusks, whereas this animal at this point just has an elongated beak. But I like the smaller dicynodonts too, especially like Lystrosaurus and Diictodon. Those are fun individuals. Yeah, no flowers have evolved, just a wide variety of different ferns, certain conifers, cycads, when referring to the different plants. So, the paleontologists have described the anatomy of Nyasodon in a paper published in the open access journal Plus One. The Nyasodon fossil can now be visited at the Lourenço Museum, Portugal, but soon will return to Mozambique, where it will become part of the collections of the National Museum of Geology. Yeah, I remember. I thought it was actually kind of odd that they decided to return it. I'm like, um, I don't know, I just think it's odd. But yeah, it's just definitely a very neat Dicynodon to find. So let's head over to the next video. Okay, what's going on here? Wait a second. Is that a Is that an elephant seal? Is that a
Yeah.
female elephant seal? Okay, it's probably Argentina, isn't it?
This has to be watched halfway through at least.
Now it could be California, maybe, but I'm guessing more likely Argentina. And she just decided to rest against a somebody's house, probably not too far from the beach.
Uh,
So if this is
uh,
Argentina, it's definitely a South American or Southern elephant seal. And these individuals you can find over in Antarctica too.
but it woke up for a second, stretched,
Yeah.
yawned, and laid back down.
Very elephant seal like.
It's like, I'm not worried. Hi. Okay. Got a picture? Video? Okay. I'm going back to sleep. It's just hilarious.
They feed on different species of fish. They'll go after seabirds too, and as well krill. So let's see. Okay, from the dodo. Hiker stares at tree for 5 minutes, trying to find animal hiding in plain sight. So Jesse Romberg and his girlfriend recently went on a guided hike through Madagascar's Indasibe National Park. As they made their way through the rainforest, they came across many of the island's unique species, but one stood out to them above the rest. I bet they were looking at different species of lemurs. Maybe they came into contact with the top predator in the region, not including the Nile crocodile. I'm referring to the Fusa. The guy led Romberg and his girlfriend to a tree and told them there was an extremely well camouflaged gecko hiding in plain sight on the bark. The couple stared at the tree, examining it from every possible angle, but no matter how hard they tried, they could not find the lizard. Oh, yeah, one of these guys. They're probably looking for a leaf tailed gecko. There are around 18 species of leaf tailed gecko native to Madagascar, and leaf tailed geckos are only native to the island of Madagascar. So just east of East Africa. I was staring at this tree for, I'm not even kidding, 5 minutes, Romberg told the dodo. That can be a long time for people that are too into lizards. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's nothing here. What do you mean? Finally, Romberg and his colleague, and his girlfriend, but I mean, she is a colleague, had to give up. So the guide pointed out the lizard's eye and mouth, which were the only parts of the animal that didn't blend in completely. There is no differentiation between the parts of the body and the tree. Yeah, he's there. They're hard to spot. Oh, wait. Hold on. There's his face. There he is. Oh, it's because they outlined him.
Yep.
Okay, that helps.
Is there two of them? There's two. One right here. Yeah, this is one. And that's the second one.
I mean, there could be. I don't see a face or an eye.
Maybe we just can't see it? Or is that not an outline on that one?
Yeah, I think that's well, it's hard to tell.
Well, that's a branch. Right here, that's a branch or something.
Yeah, it looks
But
like a
this looks like
vine.
it's outlined. And then there's another outline here where you can see his mouth and his eyes.
Yeah, and then yeah, this is bottom jaw. I'm not sure. Let's keep going. The lizard Romberg saw is called a leaf-tailed gecko. They're endemic to Madagascar, and their diet consists of insects and other invertebrates. Of course, what they're most known for is their ability to blend in with their environments. Leaf-tailed geckos' camouflaging abilities help them both hide from their predators as well as sneak up on their prey. The pattern on their skin resembles moss-covered bark, and they are able to slightly alter their coloring in response to their surroundings. They also have special flaps on their bodies that they flatten against trees to make them blend in even more. Let's see. So I guess it's just him. There he is. Well, now that we know where he is.
I mean, if you didn't know he was there,
Yeah, I probably wouldn't see him. Though his eyes are quite exposed.
yeah, but they could just be knots on the tree.
Yeah, that's true. Fringed flaps on their lower jaws and the sides of their bodies flatten against a surface, obscuring their outline. Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute wrote on their website, the increased surface area reflects and retracts light and refracts light, um, breaking the line between the perimeter of their body and the surface beneath them. Earlier that day, Rumberg and his girlfriend had seen another leaf-tailed gecko on a different tree. While that gecko's camouflage had blown them away, nothing compared them to the second lizard they saw. There he is. This one's a bit more visible, or I guess it helps from the challenge with the last one.
Yeah, because it looks like it's just part of the wood, or I guess the bark.
Yeah, he also camouflages with the lichen too. So let's see. Yeah, it's utterly unbelievable. Okay. Oh, they took a video of it too? Hey. There he is.
Let me see if I can make this bigger.
Wow, that is great camouflage.
That one you can see a little better. Hold on, let's do that again. Yeah, that's one on top right there. And then another one. Wait, so that isn't one? It just looks like one. God, that's
Yeah, I think it's just that one. Romberg feels lucky that with the help of the guide, he got to see one of the world's stealthiest animals. If not for the expert's help, the couple would have certainly just walked right past the leaf tailed gecko. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in nature. Okay, that was definitely interesting. Let's head on to the next video. So somewhere in India, I'm guessing. Yeah, it's probably India, judging by the somewhat arid, semi arid forest look. It's probably the dry season or towards the end of the wet season. I wonder what reserve this is in, where you have tigers and sloth bears coexisting. Not all of them do they have both carnivores in the same habitat, though the sloth bear is much more omnivorous. So feeding on beehives, jackfruit, going after different species of termites. Mm.
so they don't actually fight.
No, they will occasionally. Um, I wouldn't say it's preferred. You have it where both individuals or both species will just um, annoy each other. I'd
Well,
say,
that tiger was given the look of a just a house cat annoyed. Hold on. Look,
yeah.
uh, arching its back. I think that's less intimidating.
I wonder if that's a female.
And then it starts. Oh, I'll cut it.
I think it was just making sure that the sloth bear wasn't coming back. Okay, from Viz.org. Hibernating bears reveal clues to fighting muscle loss. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's best to compare bear muscle loss with humans. So during hibernation, brown bears spend up to 6 months lying almost completely still without eating, drinking, or exercising. When spring arrives, they leave their dens with their muscles largely intact. This guy's captive bear. He's kind of a little too fat for what's occurring around him. I think it's like some Asiatic brown bear too.
I can't tell. Is that a tree or a cave?
I think it's a cave. Those are stones. Some cases they do look like wood. Let's see. So for humans, the same period of inactivity would usually mean severe muscle loss, weakness, and long-term health problems. Even a few weeks in bed after surgery can reduce strength and mobility. For older adults, hospital patients, and people with okay, okay. To explore this question, so how do bears manage what humans cannot? My colleagues and I studied how bears protect their muscles during hibernation. Our findings published in Acta Physiologica suggests that the answer lies deep inside their muscle cells in the way they manage energy over long periods of inactivity. So, muscle cells rely on structures called mitochondria to supply the energy needed for movement and basic function. These structures convert nutrients into fuel, allowing muscles to contract, repair themselves, and adapt to stress. In people who stop moving for long periods, mitochondria usually decline in both number and performance. Energy production drops, muscles weaken, recovery becomes harder. Bears take a different approach. During hibernation, their muscles contain fewer mitochondria, but the ones that remain work more efficiently. Rather than allowing their energy systems to deteriorate, bears streamline them. They reduce what is unnecessary and preserve what is essential. It is similar to shutting down some power stations during low demand while upgrading the remaining ones to run more smoothly. Um, I mean, I'm not sure if that's the best comparison, but okay. Inside mitochondria, energy is generated through a series of linked chemical reactions. These reactions normally rely on several entry points and fuel sources. During hibernation, bears reorganize this system. Our research shows that they shift towards alternative energy pathways that function well at low body temperatures. Some parts of the usual machinery are reduced, while others become more important. At the same time, bears maintain the ability to use both fat and carbohydrates. Fat provides most of the energy during winter, but flexibility remains essential. If conditions change, their muscles can adapt quickly. This reorganization allows bears to produce enough energy to preserve muscle tissue, even while their overall metabolism slows dramatically. Temperature plays a central role. As bears cool during hibernation, chemical reactions slow. Instead of fighting this, their muscles adjust. The structure and function mitochondria change in ways that suit colder conditions. This temperature driven control acts like a natural protective system. It limits damage, reduces waste, and helps prevent the breakdown that usually follows long periods of inactivity. To understand those changes, we studied wild brown bears in Sweden during both winter and summer. This is interesting that they're using brown bears in Sweden, considering in recent times, they've experienced low genetic diversity because of overhunting, and they dwindled to a very small bottleneck population. I would just think because of the low diversity in their genes, that maybe they wouldn't be such a good representative, but maybe it doesn't matter to the extent that I think it does. It's interesting. By the way, these bears over in Sweden, despite being in some cases the same subspecies of brown bear as those over in Finland, they did evolve in different times during the Pleistocene or at the end of the Ice Age compared to bears over in Finland. So they are genetically distinct. So let's see. In winter, locating hibernating bears meant tracking them to hidden dens beneath deep snow. Teams worked with wildlife experts and veterinarians to safely monitor the animals and collect small muscle samples. In summer, the challenge was different. Active bears roam huge areas and are difficult to approach. Helicopters were used to locate them, and professionals carefully sedated the animals so that biopsies could be taken safely. Once collected, the samples were swiftly analyzed. The main technique we used measures how well mitochondria produce energy in real time and only works on fresh tissue. Comparing winter and summer samples revealed a consistent pattern. Bears reduce the number of mitochondria during hibernation but preserve their function. Energy pathways are reorganized, fuel use remains flexible, and cellular damage is limited. Together, these changes allow bears to remain strong despite months of immobility. You know, despite bears having more of like slow twitch muscle fibers than high twitch muscle fibers compared to big cats, so like lions, tigers, leopards, even cheetahs, and they don't produce like the same like massive, like explosive power hits that per se like a lion does. This is a superpower when it comes to like this type of immobility. Like literally almost nothing changes when it comes to their overall physiology, like in terms of the um what they're able
Other than them
to
getting thinner.
yeah, what they're able to accumulate when it comes to their musculature. Literally it stays the same. Whereas this would decimate something like a lion or a tiger. So let's see. The findings now, here's the thing though. There are different bear species today that don't really hibernate. They might take longer rests here and there, but even then, it's pretty much non-existent. Like sloth bears, sun bears, probably the short-faced spectacled bear in South Africa. I mean, South America. Who else? Pandas. They cannot deal with the hibernation instances that Asiatic black bears and then brown bears and American black bears, and you could say female polar bears with their cubs can withstand. So let's see. Um, so let's see. The findings help explain one of nature's most impressive examples of physical resilience, but their importance goes far beyond wildlife biology. In humans, muscle loss is a major problem in aging, long hospital stays, injury, recovery, and chronic disease. Um, okay. By making mitochondria more efficient for the bears, reorganizing energy systems, and responding to temperature, their muscles remain protected even in extreme conditions. Understanding how this happens could guide future treatments that help preserve muscle in vulnerable people. Um, I mean, I guess you could do something with the cells, but this this took millions of years to get to. So, anyway, so let's see. Um, from frozen dens in Scandinavian forests to high tech laboratories, this work connects wildlife biology with human health and space science. Bears do not simply sleep through winter. Their muscles follow a carefully controlled program of energy management, conservation, and protection. In doing so, they leave a clear paw print for human biology. Resilience is not about maintaining everything, but about protecting the systems that matter most. Okay, well, this is definitely very interesting. So, let's head on to the next video. Footage of tiger, leopard, and a bear using the same cave. Different seasons. Okay, I think this is different from what we saw last time. It's somewhere over in eastern Russia. So here we have an animal or a tiger. Oh, there's the fluff. Had more of like a Bengal tiger appearance at first. Hmm.
This is funny.
Is that a deer I see? Oh, it's definitely later in the year. There's an Asiatic black bear. Doesn't have a lot of weight on him, it looks like. Oh, wow. I'm guessing another part of the year.
Someone just go
Yeah,
take a nap?
yeah, an amber leopard came out. Definitely gives you a glimpse into what like cave lions, cave bears, even Pleistocene tigers using the same caves. Might even had hyenas. This is definitely very interesting.
Oh, time to come out.
Geez, she's having to squeeze his way out. This is a large individual. Sheesh.
That's not the same bear.
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, you saw that.
something happened with his ankle. Uh,
Yeah, right there.
it looks healed though from this shot.
He's walking really weird.
Yeah. Jeesh. If that was his tendon, I mean, um, okay. Well, that was a weird ending from IFLscience.com. Why do polar bears sometimes adopt other polar bear cubs? We asked the experts. No matter how it happened, we do know that with a mother to protect it, feed it, and teach it how to be a polar bear.
How did they ask a polar bear that?
Yeah, I wonder too. Maybe somebody from Iceland or Greenland made them or could speak. Okay, I bet there's a bunch of people that could probably speak polar bear. The cub's chances of survival are far better now than if it was left on its own. Yeah, it most likely would have perished. So one of these cubs isn't related to mom, but that hasn't stopped her from raising it as her own. This is definitely quite interesting. This is definitely spring because she does not have much weight on her.
Yeah,
And
cubs are the same size too.
yeah, they look like yearlings. So in December 2025, it was announced that a polar bear in Hudson Bay, Canada, of course, it's Hudson Bay, like adjacent to Manitoba, Churchill, Canada, had adopted the cub of another polar bear. It marked the 13th known case of adoption among polar bears in the region, and it's a curious phenomenon. So this isn't really new. I haven't heard of this before. Polar bear adoptions like this are extremely rare, and it's even rarer still for scientists to identify and film the adopted polar bear family. The mother, known as X33991, is part of the western Hudson Bay subpopulation of polar bears in this part of the world. When she emerged from her maternity den in the spring of 2024, she and her single cub were tagged by scientists with Polar Bears International. Polar Bears International. You guys, I mean, you definitely have found quite a bit of data, but you're annoying, really, with just your environmental activism. You can imagine their surprise then when they later spotted X33991 with a second cub come fall. We wanted to find out more about this curious behavior. So, to celebrate International Polar Bear Day, recognized on February 27th each year, we caught up with Alyssa McCall, Director of Science at Polar Bears International. Um, oh no. No, 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 no. Give us some unique data. Okay. Okay, let's see. So we don't know about what sort of scenario occurred that led to this adoption. But it is likely that it's somewhat a case of right place at the right time. It is rare to confirm these cases with genetics, let alone to see them in the wild, so these situations are poorly understood. However, we know that the adopted cub first must have been completely separated from its biological mother. Maybe it simply got lost, or maybe its mom died. This cub was fortunate to come across this particular female relatively quickly before it starved or was killed. So, the adoptive mother, X33991, likely had hormones that primed her to want to protect this scared cub. That's what I'm guessing. Additionally, we know this mom is young, 5 years old at the time of adoption. Oh, wow. That is a younger female polar bear. And her own single cub could be her first litter, meaning that she might not have fully understood what she was getting into by adding another cub to the mix. So, if that was a yearling, so was this. Do we know how old this cub was? No matter how it happened, we do know that with a mother to protect it, feed it, and teach it how to be a polar bear. Okay, it's just repeating. Those don't look like necessarily smaller cubs, but I think this is the female with the two cubs. So this is her. This is Bear X33991.
Cub, cub.
Hmm. Okay, so now it's just mentioning basic things about the polar bears, but I wonder if there's something else. So, no, that's pretty much it.
So basically, she got a bear. She
Yeah,
adopted a
she just
baby.
adopted it. Interesting. Well, okay. So, thanks for joining. And we will see you at 6 p.m. today. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. And remember, we're also streaming on both Rumble and Kick
And YouTube right now.
and YouTube. So remember that nothing is better than all animals,